welcome back to another edition of PPSIMMONS Television. And as you can see, I'm wearing the sports coat here, and that can only mean one thing. We've got a very special guest today, and today it is the one and only Carl Gallups. Now, we've been able to tear Carl away from his regular schedule of doing television appearances and radio appearances, and Carl is the pastor of a large church in Milton, Florida, and I've been to that church, and there's some, hello Milton, yeah, I love you guys, you know I love you, I've been down there a few times, and I really appreciate the warmth and the hospitality down there in Milton, and Hickory Hammock Baptist Church is the place where Carl Gallups is the pastor, and wonderful, wonderful people. And whenever I go down there, I have a great time with the folks down there. So if you're ever in the area, visit Hickory Hammock Baptist Church in Milton, Florida. You will not be disappointed. And hey, even as we do on our Facebook page, we call for a road trip every now and then. Well, if you're looking for a road trip, maybe you live in the north like I do, and you're looking to escape the coming winter storms, get on down there like the rest of the snowbirds. You know, snowbirds, that's what we call us Canadians that head down to Florida for the winter. Snowbirds. And, you know, crash up into a few palm trees down there like us Canadians like to do. But listen, Carl Gallups, best-selling author, still running high on Amazon.com. And the Magic Man in the Sky, effectively defending the Christian faith. Here we have him on the show today. How are you, Carl?
I'm doing great, Mike Shoesmith. Thanks for having me. Yeah, man. Let me see. I've already done one television interview today, 2 radio interviews, and now the PPSIMMONS television interview. Man, it's been a busy day, but it's my honor. This is the greatest honor of the day, is to be here with you.
Well, this is your first visit to us here, and we appreciate being able to tear you away from your busy schedule, Carl. You and I have been friends for a number of years now. And I happen to know that your time is very valuable. And so, yeah, thanks for coming on board. Hey, listen, lots to talk about in the news today. I was just looking through our Facebook page. We have several moderators throwing stuff up there all day long. And I don't know, you know, in the debate Monday night between Mitt Romney and... what's that guy's name? The Obama,
Gosh, isn't it Osama? Let me see.
Hopefully,
Osama Obama or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we will all be having trouble remembering that man's name soon enough. But one of the issues that came up in the debate was the bailout of the auto industry. And as you know, the president accused Mr. Romney of wanting to throw the auto industry under the bus and let them go bankrupt and essentially be split up and sold off to the Chi-Coms. But here we have today in the news, Obama darling and bailout recipient Jeep to move all production to China. I mean, that's amazing, right? Here we have the recipient of $7 billion. Chrysler got $7 billion of taxpayer money. They just wrote them a check to stay for... Now, you and I will probably agree on this, that it was essentially a bailout for the union cronies who give millions of dollars a year to the Democrat platform, the Democrat campaigns during every election season. And here we have the Democrats writing checks to the tune of billions upon billions, and Chrysler receives $7 billion of money that was collected from regular people who... You know, they make minimum wage, bussing tables, etc., 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 bailing out jobs of a failed auto industry, which essentially did go bankrupt anyway, for people to continue making money, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars doing these jobs, and the public was forced to bail them out. And I don't know, it looks like Jeep is seriously considering moving all production to China. What do you think of that?
Well, Mike, I haven't been keeping up with the news today. I've been out and about all day, so I don't know much about the details of that story. But listening to you talk about it, it serves up one more example of the travesty that this administration has been. One travesty after another, one constitutional travesty after another, one economic travesty after another. Not only the word travesty, but hypocrisy comes to mind. And so this doesn't surprise me at all, Mike. And just one more reason why this guy has got to go. And, you know, there are people that would argue that perhaps Romney wouldn't be any better, but, you know, maybe he won't be. We'll see. But America's got to have a breath. We've got to have some breathing room. We've got to have a change. And isn't that funny? Because Obama ran on hope and change. We've got to have a change if we're going to have any hope. How's that?
Well, you know, we're going to move on from this, but you know, there was already a system, a bankruptcy system in place that would not have forced them out of business, but would have allowed them to restructure. You know, Ford didn't take any bailout money. They restructured. They came back strong. Yeah, people are not making $45 an hour at Ford anymore. I have friends that work there, and you know, their starting wages are between $15 and $20 an hour, but Ford is a healthy company now. But let's move on to this Benghazi thing, Carl. I mean, I'm looking again at the Facebook page here, which is a streaming news feed. Bill Clinton urging Hillary to release Benghazi documents that would exonerate her and destroy Obama's re-election hopes. I mean, you and I both know that the Obamas and the Clintons, deep down, they are not bosom buddies. I know you've done a lot of looking into the whole Benghazi-gate thing, and I know you've got some powerful thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, I was not aware of that tidbit that you just revealed, but this whole thing has been astounding to me, that Obama would throw Hillary under the bus and that Hillary would allow herself to be thrown under the bus for Obama, and all the while Bill Clinton is out campaigning for Obama. Now, you know, you're a happily married man to an awesome woman, and I'm a happily married man to an awesome woman. I cannot imagine that I would be campaigning actively for a man who just threw my wife under the bus in front of the whole world. So what you're telling me now at least gives me a little bit more hope in Bill Clinton's manhood.
Well, indeed, and there does seem to be some doubt on his part. And people can go to the blog, ppsimmons.blogspot.com, or visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/ppsimmons. And we've got people covering this stuff and throwing it up there. And it's a streaming live feed of news all day long, all night long. We have people from coast to coast covering the news as it happens. But it really does look like the Clintons may be giving up on the Anointed One's chances of re-election. And now there's going to be some damage control coming up here. But, yeah, I don't know.
Well, listen, and I've got some inside scoop, and you know, it's going to be a little frustrating for your listeners and viewers because I'm not going to be able to give any names, and it's going to sound simply like a conspiracy theory or speculation, but all I can say is just watch the news cycle over the next couple of weeks and months, and when it breaks, just remember you heard it here on PP Simmons TV, but I have some inside scoop that not only, and of course you're revealing that the Clintons may be kind of getting ready to give up on Obama, but I've got some inside scoop that perhaps some of our federal law enforcement agencies are doing the same thing.
All right.
Particularly the CIA, and let me just say this, but this is a matter of public knowledge, of course, that basically Obama and Hillary Clinton, they've thrown the CIA under the bus on this Benghazi-gate. They've over and over, they've said, well, and Joe Biden too, during the vice presidential debates, over and over they've said, our intelligence was bad, our intelligence was bad, our intelligence was bad. Well, gee, guess who provides most of the intelligence? Yeah. You know, I mean, the CIA. Well, some of the scoop that I have is that the CIA has been on top of this since day one, and they've been communicating with the White House since day one, and the White House pretty much has turned their back on the CIA information, if my sources are correct, and then started throwing the CIA under the bus. So it could be that some of our federal investigative agencies are now going to begin to, you know, kind of just start stepping forward with some of the facts, and in so doing, I mean, you know, that could be devastating politically, but, you know, so be it.
Yeah. Now I was just entering into the theater of the mind a little bit here as you were talking and explaining the situation as it is, and I was just wondering, what will the situation be if by some fraud or fluke that Barack Obama does get reelected? How many heads are going to roll over there? Because they do seem to be turning tail on the abomination here. I mean, well, the vengeance will be a bloodbath. I mean, one of our moderators posted a story the other day outlining the number of people who have died, not directly by Obama's hand, but people who have resisted him over the last 4 years. It's been a bloodbath. I mean, there's perhaps limited evidence, but there is some evidence that there was some underhandedness with even Breitbart. And then a coroner that worked at the LA coroner's office dies a week later. I mean, the list is so long. I wonder what it's going to look like, all these people turning against Obama because he seems to be heading towards a monumental disaster on November 6th. What if that man wins, there's some people that better head for cover. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, just common sense would tell you that, just because of the way that we've seen the guy operate for the last 4 years. But, the speculation that you just dove off into is very interesting. But look, there were documentary DVDs made about the Clinton administration with very similar type of connections that people were making to them, and a whole list of deaths. And so, that's interesting speculation, to be sure. But, if the Clintons turn on Obama, I mean, just throw him under the bus and release documents, and and Hillary doesn't take the dive for him anymore, and if federal law enforcement agencies begin to release information and basically don't cover for him anymore, and by cover I don't mean they've been covering up, but they've been doing their duty, so to speak. They give him the information, Obama doesn't use it, well, that's Obama's discretion. But when Obama throws them under the bus and accuses them of something they know they haven't done, so they start kind of releasing the correct information, I mean, that could just devastate, derail Obama's campaign, particularly if it occurs just in the week or so before the actual election. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if he does by some stroke of whatever luck or demonic interference, if he does go back into office, I would imagine there will be some retribution, and as it could be for any administration. But his last 4 years will be pretty much unfettered. I mean, look, his first 4 years, he spit on the Constitution, he's thumbed his nose at Congress, he's thumbed his nose at the American people, he has sued states and governors. The Attorney General has refused to prosecute Black Panthers and who've been involved in messing with federal elections processes. I mean, that's in the first 4 years. Obama has refused to enforce the Defense of Marriage Act, which is federal law. He's refused to enforce our borders. I mean, you go on and on and on. Well, what will he do with 4 years where he doesn't have to worry about re-election? That's a scary thought.
A scary thought indeed. You and I have discussed in the past through videos and on the radio show Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. We should not neglect to mention that you are a wildly popular radio show host with wildly popular correspondents that call in every Friday. That is on WEBY out of Pensacola, the bigger city near Milton. And you've got Jeff Cooner of the Washington Times and Dr. Grace Woto of the Edmund Burke Institute, and other very nationally, internationally recognized guests. And we appreciate the time you've taken. And there's the music. We got to go to a break, but we'll be right back after this 1 minute, really short break, and then we'll come back with Carl. We'll talk about why should the born-again Christian vote for a Mormon? Does that make any sense at all? Let's talk about it when we come back after this.
Do you ever wish that you could more powerfully, succinctly, and accurately speak to the message of your Christian faith and the Word of God? This is the book you need, The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. This book has been featured on TBN, Atlanta Live, dozens of radio programs, and hundreds of markets. It was rave reviewed by the Washington Times, and it was called a must-read book. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Get it today on Amazon.com or the WND Superstore.
And we're back. And with us is Carl Gallups of Hickory Hammock Baptist Church. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups radio show heard on WEBY out of Pensacola every Friday from 4 to 6 Central, 5 to 7 Eastern, and you guys figure out the rest of the math.
Well, we're heard all over the world. We have an international audience, so it would be quite difficult to go through all the time zones.
And people now, I have been told that people as far as Egypt are listening to the show live streaming through WEBY's streaming service.
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, all people have to do is go to carlgallups.com, and there they can click the Listen Live link. They can also find out right at the top of the page how to listen to us on their cell phones, their smartphones. They can also click on the podcast. The podcasts are free. We broadcast live on Friday evening, as you just said, and by Saturday, by about noon, the podcasts are up, and people can get them and download them for free. You can find all of that, plus all of the social networking connections, all the ministry videos, ministry opportunities, live ministry opportunities, all about my book, my #1 best-selling book, The Magic Man in the Sky. It's all there at carlgallups.com.
And now I happen to know that periodically there will be breaking news on the show, and when that happens, what you guys do is you have a guy that will take that breaking news and just blast it everywhere to the YouTube channel and the blog and Facebook and all that. So it really is exciting how this little radio station in Milton, Florida has just exploded in popularity, and it's an amazing thing to watch. It's a phenomenon on the level of the PPSIMMONS phenomenon, which began back in October of 2008. With just a few videos, a handful of videos on the channel, and now we're looking at, the last time I checked, 27 million views and 22,000 subscribers, and really the PPSIMMONS television is just the next stage in the pardon the pun, but the evolution of the ministry. So you know what, Carl, we're so thrilled to have you as a part of that, doing the narration and quite a bit of the research for us, and we're really thrilled that you are a part of this. But let's close it out here. I know you've got other appointments to make. Let's close this out here with. Let's just talk to the people about. I'm a Canadian, obviously. I live in Canada, and there's a picture of the CN Tower in the background there, and the Toronto city skyline. In case anybody was wondering if that was the Seattle Needle or not, but no, that's the CN Tower. But listen, I do have a dog in this race. I mean, I am a businessman, and I have a family to support. And ever since for the last 4 years, Barack Obama's policies have negatively influenced the Canadian economy, because the United States of America is our #1 trading partner. And so being a businessman, it has affected me directly, the policies of the Obama administration. So even though I can't vote, I have several people down in the States who are voting twice, once for them, once for me. And so we're going to, no, I'm just joking, but we are going to, talk about why the Christian should vote for a Mormon. I mean, it seems antithetical to the direction the Christian should go. But hey, listen, if the Christian is going to maintain integrity, the Christian must abide by the U.S. Constitution, which is the law of the land. And the U.S. Constitution is very specific that there is no religious test to be president of the United States. There are several other tests. There's an age requirement. There is a natural-born citizen requirement, and we've covered all that. But on the positive side, why should the Christian make the effort to pull the lever, so to speak, for a Mormon?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, my take on it is, and I want to get here Carl's take, but my take on that is it comes down to integrity. Here we have one man who is pro-abortion, pro-homosexual marriage, and really, if not the Antichrist, quote unquote, he is an Antichrist figure. On the other hand, we have a man who is not forcing his religious views on people. In fact, he has kept it completely out of the theater here, and he's basically saying, "Look, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-biblical marriage, and I'm pro-capitalism." And listen, folks, capitalism works wherever it's tried. And listen, if you guys are voting for me, vote for Mitt Romney, please. What are your thoughts, Carl?
Well, Mike, several things you've expressed are my thoughts as well. Let me just break it down like this. Look, I come from a biblical worldview. My first and foremost allegiance always is to Jesus Christ and to his kingdom. I would prefer that we would have a born-again, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, Spirit-filled, church-going Christian as president. Of course I would. In fact, some of our founding fathers, in the early writings of our founding fathers, they said that we should always prefer to have Christians in office. But of course, the word prefer, they understood that we would not always have Christians in office. And even if you did have Christians, what flavor of Christians? Are you going to have a hard-shell Baptist or Presbyterian or Lutheran or Catholic or Methodist, or are you going to have Assembly of God, Pentecostal, Quakers? I mean, what flavor of Christian, and would we ever be satisfied with that? So our founding fathers in their wisdom understood that, look, we're not creating a theocracy here. We're not electing a priest. We're not electing a pastor. We're not electing a pope. What we're doing is we're electing a CEO of a corporation called America. And if that CEO, if that president will abide by the Constitution, if he will take that oath and defend and protect and abide by the Constitution, if he will respect the branches of government, if he will respect the laws of the land and work through the legal system of the United States, then literally an atheist could be president and be a good president. Now, as a born-again Christian, I would pray for and prefer that an atheist were not president. But the point is, for the sake of hyperbole, I'm using hyperbole to make my point, that an atheist could be president provided he followed the Constitution and respected things Americana. Now, so now here we are for the first time in America's history, faced with a choice between two men. Neither one of them are evangelical Christians in that respect. Now, on November the 7th, one of these guys is going to be president, Mike.
Yeah.
One of these guys is going to be president. So what I do then, as a Christian who wants to be the salt and the light, who wants to be engaged, as a patriot who loves this nation, look, Mike, I'm not voting for Mitt Romney nearly as much as I'm voting for America.
Right.
Because I'm voting for the future of my children and my grandchildren. And again, I know it's all in God's hands. I know that. But I don't know the mind of God. I don't know the timing of God. All I can do is the best with what I have. And so when I go to the polls on November 6th, it's either going to be Romney or Obama on November the 7th. And I'm convinced that another 4 years of Obama will destroy us. And so now that I know that neither one of them meet my religious test, so to speak, now I have to go to step number 2, and that is look at the platforms. Well, Romney is pro-Israel, pro-capitalism, pro-family, pro-life. He's anti-abortion. He's anti-radical homosexual agenda. He's anti-homosexual marriage. He's pro-defending our borders. He is pro-military. Well, look at Obama. He's the antithesis of that. And we've watched for 4 years one constitutional travesty after another, one attack on capitalism after another, one attack on everything Americana after another. So the choice, when you start looking at it like that, becomes crystal clear. Now, one more thing I would say to people listening. Look, if somebody wants to be all pharisaical about it and feel like they're super spiritual and super righteous by condemning me because I'm going to vote for a man who claims to be of the Mormon faith, all I can say is, have you ever voted in any presidential election? And if that person says, well, yeah, I would say, okay, then you're a hypocrite. I mean, by your own standard. But please tell me, what born-again, Bible-believing, Jesus-loving Christian did you vote for? If you voted for the man that sang in the choir at the Baptist Baptist church, then you voted for Bill Clinton.
Right.
If you voted for the man that taught Sunday school in a Baptist church, then you voted for Jimmy Carter. If you voted for the man that said he was saved late in life in a Methodist church, but whose wife was pro-abortion and pro-homosexual marriage, and his vice president was pro-homosexual marriage and has a homosexual daughter, then you voted for Bush Cheney. If you say, well, I'm going to vote for the guy that did the most God and country talk of any president we ever had. Okay, then you voted for Ronald Reagan, whose wife consulted astrologers and in the White House and palm readers, and a man who never, I think one time in his 8 years did he ever attend church service. And I mean, you know, so on and on we can go. This is not about, Jesus is not on the ballot. This is not, we're not electing Jesus to be president of the United States. This is not about putting a priest or a preacher or a pastor or a pope on a throne. This is about electing a man who's going to lead this country and abide by the Constitution. Right now, between the two choices we have, I think Mitt Romney's the one to do that the best. Our country has to have a breather, Mike. We've got to have a break. And right now, Mitt Romney's our only choice. And so, yes, I will vote for Mitt Romney. But as I said a moment ago, what I'm doing, I'm voting for America.
Well, I mean, the only perfect ruler hasn't returned yet. So we can't vote for him yet. So really it all comes down to, I mean, if we voted for the Baptist, then, you know, the Pentecostals would be like, well, how come you didn't vote for our guy? I mean, it always comes down to this, but I liken it to, for me, it's always been about capitalism versus, or rather liberalism versus conservatism. Liberalism is a mental disorder. And it is. Right. and as I was listening to you, I noticed the very first, at the top of your list of requirements was pro-Israel. And I think that Canada, the only reason Canada is such a depraved country, I mean, the only reason we haven't been slammed by a meteor shower and completely wiped out is because God, Almighty God, made a promise that if you are for Israel, I'm for you. And our Prime Minister, even though he has refused to take up the abortion issue, he is pro-Israel, and he's made that a public declaration, and I think that it really does show your character, Carl, that you would put Israel at the head of the list here. Mitt Romney is pro-Israel, and as was stated in the debate, Barack Obama has yet to even visit Israel, but he's been to all their enemy states. But listen, that's the show. The music's playing. Carl, listen, you've been. This is why you're in such high demand, and I appreciate you taking the time to come out. And listen, I'm just honored to be your friend, and thank you so much for taking the time. And we'll have to do this again sometime real soon.
Mike Shoesmith, it's been my honor. God bless you, my friend.
All right, buddy. Take care. We'll see you. That's the show, guys. See you next time.